Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Crash Couch. It has been a while for us all, but finally the last season of The Expanse is upon us. It's weird to be saying that after all this time, but here we are. My name is Chris, as always, and joining me today I have Joel and Derek. Joel and Derek, how are both of you doing?
I'm fine. I'm having the time of my life. I quit my federal government job in Canada and I went back to school doing a PhD, and I'm studying space law. Yeah, thanks, Expanse. Yeah, my motivation. Great.
And I've just bought my first used car in my life, so I've had to do a lot of self-education in that, but it's finally over and I can finally relax.
There you go.
Yes, Derek, but did it come with a bolt? Or a bolter? Bolt. Oh, no, you're making fun of my brand. Bolt, like bolter. Oh, forget it. Never mind.
The real question is, did it come with a free stormtrooper helmet?
Ah, yes. That'd be good.
I'm going to assume that is a no on that.
No.
Now, well, Joel, you bought what, a Rogue, and it came with like a stormtrooper helmet for Rogue One, right?
No, actually, I bought a fully commissioned Stormtrooper Empire Strikes Back uniform or armor from RS Props in England, and I applied for the 501st. Unfortunately, I haven't had time to tweak the armor because I'm doing my PhD and I've been going nuts. So I have to fix a few things before they will let me into the club, so to speak. But maybe next week when I get some time off for Christmas, I'll, or New Year's, I'll be taking another photo shoot and fixing some minor things with the armor.
There you go. Can't beat that, man.
Yeah. I put my application in maybe 7 weeks ago, and then I had to drop it because I got really busy in life. So it's a matter of priorities, and yeah, I'll be good. And if not, still I own a Stormtrooper uniform, so I'm quite happy. I wear it to all the best parties around.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad both of you are doing great. It has been a while since I've talked to either of you. Derek, thanks for joining us. Even though you're not an official co-host of the Crash Couch, you are a very special honored guest.
I'm the understudy.
You are the understudy. The question is, who are you the understudy for?
It's Ernie, right?
Yeah, probably. Well, we can go with that. So yeah, this is going to be a little bit of a different season of the Crash Couch for us, just due to schedules and the fact that there's only 6 episodes of season 6. We're going to really record when we can, and just try to just focus on the episodes that have released to that point. Obviously, we're recording now on December 21st, and the first 2 episodes have been released, so that's what we're discussing. Christmas is obviously coming up, and as well as the New Year holiday, so we'll hopefully be able to record a second episode about the 3rd and 4th episodes of the season, barring any unforeseen circumstances, and then maybe we'll get to do something for the final 2 episodes as well. So just to give you a heads up about where we're at for that. So yeah, I guess we can go and get into this discussion. It's weird seeing The Expanse again. I think I've probably said that every single time that Amazon has released a season, because we're actually back to weekly episodes now, just for a second season in a row, which I'm very happy that they did that, especially since this one is so short compared to the other ones. What did you guys think of actually, you know what, before we get into talking about these 2 episodes in general, I know that we've also had some other big news in the Expanse fandom. Was the announcement of a video game from, I think they are called Telltale Games. So that's coming up in the future. We also had the release of book 9 in the Expanse. I guess you can call it a saga now. The final book in the series. Obviously, this is not a book-focused podcast, I've not read them yet, although I'm very close to doing that. And then I know Joel has started book 9, but Derek has actually finished book 9. So
Yes.
Derek, without giving any kind of spoilers or any hints as to what's happening or what's going on, just what are your general thoughts about book 9? Did it solve all of the lingering questions and wrap up all the loose ends?
Yeah, it was an excellent ending to an excellent series. There are very few long-running sci-fi or fantasy series that I think have good endings. Well, hell, even most television shows or movie series of any kind, I think they rarely have a good, dramatically satisfying ending. I can count on probably one hand the ones I truly love, and I think The Expanse is definitely one of them. There wasn't anything I was disappointed about. It answered all the big questions. It was a big story. Yeah, it's hard to go into any. It's hard to talk about it all without giving anything away, but it was an excellent ending. I think the final trilogy of the 9 books was the best of the series. So it's a shame that we're not going to see that on television because it really was some amazing stuff. And the story just keeps getting bigger and bigger as it goes along. Because if you think about it, the first book, we start out with just this one little crew on a pure and clean cargo ship and one detective on a space station. And look where we are now in season 6 with the fate of Earth and all life in the belt and the solar system at stake. So it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and building and building. And the ending is suitably epic and it's very dramatically satisfying.
Yeah, and I like the fact that they kept the possibility of future films for these last 3 books in the series. That's a possibility. So imagine seeing, book 7, 8, 9 on the big screen. That would be most excellent.
That would be really crazy if they did that because it would require so much foreknowledge of the TV show, and I don't know, like how many people have actually seen the TV show, even if it's all on Prime. I don't know.
Yeah, that is fair. I did see a tweet from the James S.A. Corey account. I believe it is Ty that is running that one. And he had tweeted something about, I think somebody was tweeting at them saying that they really liked book 9 or it was a good conclusion to the series or something like that. And he made a comment about how he was glad he could finish it or something like that. But the main point of the comment was that they don't, like the authors don't own the Expanse like the TV show. Like they don't decide what they are going to do for the last 3 books if they're going to do anything. I think he had said that like the studio can kind of make that decision themselves if they feel that they can make one movie out of it or a set of movies or even continue this TV show somehow. They'll find a way to do it, and I don't think the authors would step in and say no to that if unless they thought that it might be a terrible idea, which I don't think that would ever happen. But yeah, I'll be curious to see not only how they'll wrap up this season, just since it's TV, knowing that there's a story beyond that, if maybe they will just end it and like maybe cut it off more so than the actual book 6 does, or if they will leave it open for interpretation or leave it open for some kind of future adaptation.
Yeah, with any luck, future generations will look on the Expanse like The Lord of the Rings or Star Wars or Star Trek or Battlestar Galactica, and maybe it takes a generation, but I think we'll get there eventually.
Yeah, it might be one of those shows that, like, obviously it's popular now. It wouldn't have made it through 3 seasons of being on Sci-Fi and then got picked up by Amazon and then being as successful as it is now. It wouldn't have lasted that long. Even the book series wouldn't have lasted that long if it wasn't worth reading or worth watching. So yeah, I think you're spot on there.
Yeah.
Oh, we should also point out that there is going to be one final book release in March. It's a series of short stories. They're mostly ones that have already been published, but there is going to be one original series, one original short story that does take place after book 9. And then they said that that's it. That's the final story they're ever going to write in The Expanse. That's the end of their story, and they say if people want to like, do fanfic or whatever, have at it.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't. I think I missed that announcement, but I did see it again, probably a couple days ago that they were talking about it. So
What a novel idea.
yeah, it is, Joel. It is.
Oh, I miss podcasting. It's been a while.
And I'm very curious to see what these authors are going to do next. I know one. I think they're doing separate works after this, and I know one of them is doing a high fantasy series. So I'm definitely going to check that out because I really love these books and the way they're written.
Yeah, I think Daniel is the one that's doing the high fantasy series. So we'll see. Yeah, it would be nice for them to, take the success that the Expanse has given them as a writing duo. Obviously, this wasn't like their debut or anything. We know them from Star Wars before the Expanse. So yeah, I think that this is definitely not the end of James S.A. Corey as a writing duo or an author. I think it is really only just the beginning. If you look at the success of the Expanse and what can come from that, I think it's only the beginning for them.
I actually think that their Star Wars novel was published in the middle of the Expanse release. I think Leviathan Wakes is their first book, but I may be wrong about that. But I'm pretty sure they said that they took the only thing that they would take a pause on writing the Expanse books was to do a Star Wars book.
Oh, okay. See, I got into the Expanse. Like I picked up the first book, I think around the time that maybe the second or the third one was coming out. So I thought that that Star Wars book, I don't remember what the title is off the top of my head, but
Honor Among Thieves.
Yep, you're right. I thought that was something that came out prior to it, but yeah,
now that I'm
thinking, you're probably right.
Leviathan Wakes came out in 2011, and Honor Among Thieves came out in 2014.
Oh wow, I didn't know it was that much of a
So
gap.
they did 4 Expanse books, and they also did the Star Wars book after that.
Jeez, I did not know that.
Yep. Yeah, so Leviathan Wakes is their first book.
Gotcha.
Listen, guys.
Let's hope it's not the last one.
Absolutely. I'm not sure. I think the Expanse would be considered a failure if it doesn't get its own hotel, a dedicated theme hotel.
That costs $5,000 for 2 nights.
Because I want to really go to the bar and drink. I really do.
I think I would enjoy. I know this is like not even talking about the episodes yet, but I would probably like. I'm a big Star Wars fan. Like everyone that knows me knows that. But I think that I would enjoy an Expanse themed park or like cruise or hotel, whatever you want to call it, more than I would anything Star Wars. And I can't believe I'm saying that. Am I like wrong in thinking that?
Well, I think Star Wars it's oversaturated the market, right? And I love Star Wars, but it's all over the place, especially in fandom. Whereas the Expanse, I think it's still fresh, right? It's still the first generation of experiencing the Expanse. So imagine if in 20 years' time they reboot it and they have another version of the Expanse. I don't know. I think it's just different, and it's good to have differences out there. Choice is good, man.
I always associate living in the world of the Expanse as just being utterly horrible and miserable and body horror because they don't show it in the TV show, but in the books, when you lay in a crash couch, you're constantly getting a needle put into your veins and sometimes into your spine. And so like when they do those high G burns, they're getting needles put into their spinal column to inject like some kind of fluid so that they don't stroke out. And they're constantly having to fix broken stuff. And yeah, life in the Expanse just sounds miserable.
Yeah, but it's like your typical Friday night, Derek.
Maybe to some people it is.
Maybe.
I have a very acute needle phobia, so all the stuff they talk about in the books is just like a special horror to me.
Oh God, that's great.
So in other words, it doesn't look like you're going to be signing up to audition for the role of Doc Ock in Spider-Man anytime soon.
No.
That's great. We should mention we're doing spoilers, right, for the episodes?
Oh yeah, totally. Like if you've listened this far and you've not watched the first 2 episodes of season 6, I think it's Strange Dogs and Azure Dragon. You need to just stop, because unless you want to be spoiled, then continue listening.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll be honest, guys. I've not had a lot of negative things to say about The Expanse. I mean, we can go back and listen to all of the other episodes we've done, and there may be a few mishits here and there, but for the most part, everything has been pretty positive. This first episode, I think, was probably one of my least favorites of the entire show so far, at least when it comes to a premiere. It kind of like dragged on. It was great when it comes to focusing on character drama and character relationships, but I felt like there was a lot of setup and not a lot of like payoff for some of that. Like it just kept going on and on and on. And granted, we did get some of the payoff in episode 2, which I was happy to see, especially when it comes to somebody like Philip. I think his arc just in these 2 episodes alone is probably, to me at least, more interesting than what we saw last season. And last season was really good from him. But just seeing what we've seen so far in these first 2 really makes me anxious for what is to come. And it has put this thought into my head of, I wonder if this season is being written as sort of a like a long haul. Like it's not going to immediately, pay off every single episode.
Yeah, Chris, I get where you're coming from, but I must admit, I thought the CGI in this first episode was amazing. And
I knew that's what you were going to say.
But also, actually, this is really neat because it opens. We had the scene on Laconia, which is named after the county, of course, of Sparta in ancient Greece, right? Okay. So, but past that, we get to all these videos of the asteroid impact, right? The news feeds, and the amount of work the production team puts in for these news feeds was amazing. These videos, all the details, I thought that was great. And then later, there's a bar scene, of course, because I love bars. That's great. And then right after that, right before that, there's a restaurant scene with Marco and his lieutenants. And what I cannot believe was so well done was the menu scene, like screen right behind their table, in this bolder version of an Asian place. The screen says "Baka Dabash," both are great eats. And just the details, the attention to details, that's outstanding. And other things like the tattoos, right? So refocusing on the small things. And I think that's why episode 1 worked, because it's the small things and it was character development. If you want combat in space, well, that's going to be episode 2. And that's episode 2, in my opinion, was like Tom Clancy movies back in the 90s and 80s. Am I that old? Well, yeah, probably. But it's
That's fair.
Yeah, that's my take on episode 1. I thought it was the small things really turned me on. And between the bar, the small details, Philip being a partier, hedonistic, sex fiend. Yeah. What else do you need?
I would agree that episode 1 was a little bit of a setting placement, but I'm pretty sure that all of the premiere episodes have been like that. Maybe not season 2's premiere, but I think in general, when you have the season premiere of a show like this, it's going to be mostly, just like here's where everyone is and here's what they're doing. There's usually not some kind of huge development in the premiere. They're usually a little on the slow side, but I didn't mind it.
Maybe I just had to like psych myself up and get back in the mood of The Expanse. Again, just because I was watching it like pretty much. I think I watched it the night that it premiered, and I was really excited to watch it, obviously, because who wouldn't be. But maybe it was just something that I would have to watch again, or maybe it works better if like you're binging the show, or maybe if you have episode 2 immediately right after. Because I really liked episode 2. I had to split it up into 2 separate watches, but Overall, I thought that it was a fun. Fun is probably a bad word, but it was a fun payoff given what we had in episode 1, and I think it really, in my eyes at least, it strengthened episode 1 to be, like you said, more of that setup that, it's really developing those character arcs, rather than just like shoving it all in our face along with the action, and therefore it would be, it'd be too much at that point. But yeah, I wanted to say something about the visuals as well. I'm watching this in 4K on my Fire Stick, and it is absolutely breathtaking, especially given what we started off with when it comes to even the first part of Amazon's reign with it, going all the way back to even season 1, though, just to see some of the way that, like you said, Joel, those small details, those like the text on the screen, or just something that might be in the background, or like a blink and a miss it shot. Some of it is just absolutely breathtaking, and it will be a shame when the Expanse does end and we don't have something this good looking on TV anymore for us to look at.
Yeah, I have to go back to watching The Witcher or something like that, completely out of this genre. But no. Yeah, the other thing about episode 1, I think the characters were still processing season 5, because they basically lived through a huge genocide, right? And you see that with Avasarala's visiting the former field harvest field scene, right? Looking at the destruction and devastation, and how Earth is down, the United Nations is down. They're losing badly, and they're hurting, right? And it's not the anger is still there, but now they're processing it. It's a slow burn. Now they're trying to basically survive and keep their morale up, because they're losing the fight. And you can see that in episode 1. Whereas in episode 2, well, I think the tide is turning, and we will talk about that in a few minutes, I'm sure. But I don't know. I think it's neat, because even the Free Navy forces, say Philip, they're suffering with post-traumatic stress because they've been killing people. And you see that in the whole party scene, and you see it with Philip basically being an immature idiot with no self-control. And you see the fact that, hey, war's awful because it affects your logistics. How are you going to feed your people, especially in space? And that's going to, it plays a role in episode 2, and I'm sure it's going to be a major, development further on in season 6.
Yeah, one of the minor complaints I have with these 2 episodes is that I thought in season 5 Marco was a really effective villain, and the actor is doing a brilliant job, and he was just an amazingly evil piece of shit in the last season. The way he was manipulating his Philippe and Naomi, and in these first 2 episodes, I didn't really get that sense of coolness or evilness from him. It's kind of like he succeeded in paralyzing Earth and Mars, and what is he doing with that victory? He's just kind of like, preening around on Ceres Station, not really doing anything. It's like, what was the plan from here on in? So I felt like that character was kind of diminished in these 2 episodes. I'm sure he'll do something cool soon, and he's just kind of like dealing with his screw up son. I don't know. It wasn't really working for me. Also, on a very superficial note, I find it hilarious that his teenage son is like a full foot taller than him too.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, give Marco a break. He's been sexually intimidated, okay, by Lang Walker, okay? He's a victim, really.
It is funny that the actor is of shorter stature, because in the books the Belters are supposed to all be like elongated and 6 or 7 feet tall because they grew up in zero gravity, and he doesn't quite have that look. Because remember in the I think it's like the first scene or so of the pilot episode, it shows Avasarala torturing a Belter, and he's kind of like this CGI elongated guy. They very quickly got away from that visual aspect in the series. because obviously it's not practical to have, a bunch of actors looking like that.
Yeah, and I think it's not really pleasant to look at all the time for the majority of people consuming this series, right? Which is not the hardcore sci-fi fans, but it's people who come home after a long day working and they want to watch some entertainment on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder how Marco would be as a stormtrooper.
Oh God, he wouldn't take orders. He's going, he probably is going to defect. Then he's going to be like a double agent, and well, that'll be a different novel. We should write that. Yeah.
I think he would have risen up quickly through the ranks, and his commanding officers would keep getting accidentally fragged in the field, shot from behind until he was the one in charge.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Hey, do you think he's he? I need to watch my language because I know this is a PG-13 podcast. But there's a new lieutenant that Marco has, right? That blonde woman.
Mm-hmm.
Her character name is Nika Sandra. Do you think they kind of get together, or they got together already in that way, that particular way?
I felt a really strong power dynamic from them. First of all, I really liked her.
Right.
She didn't have a lot of screen time, but I immediately felt just this power that she was emanating from her performance, and I couldn't tell if that was intentional or if it was just if it was Marco's energy radiating from her, radiating from him onto her, and it was just all coming at me at once. But that's the impression that I got. I don't know if
I'm sorry.
have any kind of
I may have gotten the character name wrong. I just wrote it down in my notes. Is it Rosenfield Godlang or is it Nico Sanjurana? One of them. Any which way, the blonde lieutenant, female woman.
Yeah, I don't know her name, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Any which way, I thought that was neat because there's sexual tension now, right? In a good way. So maybe Marco is preoccupied. Maybe the sins of his youth, if you want to put it that way, or his proclivities from his youth is still with him as an adult and as a leader, and he's going to get distracted. Whereas he should be fighting a war. He should be worried about his logistics. This is how to wage war 101, right? Your logistical supply lines. And instead, he's going to be shagging his lieutenant. Yeah, maybe it's just me. Hey, the other thing I want to bring up is. So towards the beginning of episode 1, right? Okay, on the Rocinante, we have a scene where we saw the plaque, right? The Rishner crew, their names on the wall. Did that tear you guys up at all? Did it make you sad or nostalgic?
No.
It made me nostalgic. Sad, definitely not, but nostalgic because I thought of me watching the first season or the first 2 seasons and doing the show and just kind of looking back to see how far we've all come, both in real life but also just with these characters and this series as a whole. Like, we've been through so much, and to see that plaque really did kind of like take it back for me. Didn't feel any sort of sadness or remorse or anything along those lines, but I definitely did feel some nostalgia hit me then.
Interesting.
Yeah, I barely noticed Alex's absence from the show. He was always just kind of the pilot. The plot never really revolved around him, so he was slotted out pretty easily in my mind. And now we have Peaches.
Yeah, I will say that that is one thing that probably not a lot of people are going to talk about, and that's totally fine. We're not going to sit here and wax lyrical about that either, but I think that I'm with you, Derek. I don't feel his absence. I don't feel like there's a hole missing, which is from just strictly looking at the character's perspective is sad, because I did like that character from the first season up until his ultimate demise, but I don't feel any kind of hole for that. I think that again, without having read the books and seeing what could be happening had certain real life things not gotten in the way of that, I think that whatever has been written to make that, like, to fill that void from the TV show perspective, works for me at least. And I would assume that the vast majority of people watching this would think the same thing. And that's not to discredit, the people that were writing Alex, the character, before, but because that some of the credit does have to go to the writing team and not just the person that was playing him. But it goes to show what talent you have and what kind of other characters you have on screen to know that you can bring somebody in to fill that hole, to replace someone that may or may not should have been there, or should have been replaced, and it feels very natural and organic.
Well said, Chris.
And the blonde woman is Rosenfeld, by the way.
Hey,
Yes.
I was wrong and I corrected myself. Yes, Rosenfeld. Yeah, there we go. And I think, the other one, the Nico Sandrina, she's the logistical person. I got it right. So, so Nico's doing her job, whereas Rosenfeld is playing politics with Marco and some other things, perhaps. Good catch.
Now, Chris, as someone who has not read the books and does not know where this is going, I was wondering, what is your opinion? What is the point of the scenes with the little girl on the alien planet? Where is that going?
All I know is that I'm pretty sure that is a short story or novella, one of those. I might be wrong there, but am I getting? Is that right?
Yeah, it was the one called Strange Dogs, which was the
Yeah.
name of episode 1.
Yep. I have zero clue what's going on. I don't know what that is. I only know the characters' names because I watch it with subtitles on Amazon. And it shows the character names. I have no idea what's going on. That is one thing that I'm used to it at this point, because it's not the first time that we've been thrown random scenes with random characters that come from one of the short stories, but it all leads up to something in the end and makes sense. You're like, oh, okay, well, that's what that means, or that's who that is. I know that we'll get conclusions. I'm just kind of like watching it and observing it and then being like, okay, well, that was something, better remember that, and then hoping for the eventual resolution in the end.
And what do you think about the ship that disappeared in the gate? I believe it was the final scene of the last season where the ship goes through the gate and just kind of like freezes and dissolves away.
Yeah, no idea what is going on there. That I remember being blown away, like my mind was blown whenever that happened. Again, no idea what is happening. I know that some of the people that have read the books were freaking out at that moment. And I'm like, okay, well, that was neat. It's setting up something. Don't know what it is, but it'll make sense eventually.
Yeah, because when I watched that scene at the end of season 5, I kind of felt like it did nothing to explain what was happening, and that if I hadn't read the book, I would just be like, well, what was that? What was that supposed to be?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's the beauty, though, of the show, is that it always, like, it'll plant this thing in the back of your mind of, okay, there's this character, there's this thing happening, and you need to remember it, but it's not super important right now. And then right when the moment is right, it will pop up again, and then, like, your brain will, like, have a light bulb moment. You're like, oh yeah, that's what that is.
Yeah, I think the show does that well. And it's kind of like a discovery, right? It's, to me, it's like that's discovery of different, inventions or scientific discoveries where you just don't know. And suddenly you discover something or you invent something and it changes the path of human history. In this case, the Portic monocle and all that stuff that ties towards it. And that's the theme of the series. One of them, at least.
Derek, since I'm going to throw that question back to you, obviously you have read the books. I'm assuming that you've read all the short stories, so you know what's going on.
I have not read the short stories. I've only read the main books.
Okay, well, then, do you know what's happening with the little girl?
Yes, I do. So I won't say anything.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've read the novellas as well up till if there's a new one I haven't read it, but the old ones, yeah, man. We can't really have this conversation without spoiling things from the books.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, there's really no
Well,
way to talk about it.
okay. Well, I'm assuming
yeah,
then that we'll get some explanation then.
absolutely.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
Glad I don't have to sit here and worry about that every time I watch an episode. I'm like, well, I guess I should still be paying attention to her.
Now, Chris, do you have any theories on how the season and the series is going to end?
I think no, I don't. Well, see, that's kind of what going back to what I was saying earlier is that will season 6 be a like wrapped up all neatly in a bow, or will it leave it up open to interpretation, knowing that there's still more story beyond that that could be adapted in some form or fashion later. Yeah, I have no idea. It really, if you told me, if like you could go in the future and watch the rest of the episodes and then come back and tell me, okay, it does wrap it up, then I might have kind of an idea, or if it leaves it open, then I really honestly don't know. I have a hunch of maybe, I don't have any reason to back any of this up, and I'm not going to sit here and spoil myself, but I do have some thoughts about maybe where some of our characters will head, what will happen to some people, but I don't, some of that is just based on typical like sci-fi tropes, and I'm hoping that the Expanse is better than that. So I'm leaving myself open-minded at least.
Oh, good.
I'll say nothing to avoid spoilers.
Hey, can we talk about Philip being a prisoner and how there's no rule of law in the Free Navy because his daddy bailed him out?
Mm-hmm. That scene right after they get bailed out, or he gets bailed out, and Marco's like telling him, okay, like me and I can't remember the other guy's name. Who was his friend?
Yuan. What's it? Yuan. Yeah. Yoan.
Like they were on the planet, when they were younger, growing up, and they got into all sorts of trouble and was pretty much acting just the same as Philip was. But when it came down to it, the next day they were always back to work, doing what they were supposed to be doing, and saving the, I guess the troublemaking for later. And just seeing that, like him radiate that to his son and point that out, like, hey, like you have to like grow up, because I'm not going to be there to bail you out next time that this happens, or if something happens to me and you have to take over, no one's going to be there to like, you have to step in the shoes, you have to be ready to do that. I felt like that just was so interesting, especially since we follow these characters now, especially last season. We got to see so much interpersonal dynamics between them, and we've seen a little bit of how Naomi has influenced both of those characters, both for good and bad. And I'm just I am just those are the two characters that I care most about right now, Marco and Philip, is because like that the season is about them as far as I'm concerned right now, at least. That might change, but yeah, that's just, I think it's very fascinating to watch. It makes for good TV.
See, with me, I actually quite intrigued with Drummer, because Drummer is stepping up in so many ways, right? And yet she still has integrity, and she still has the ability to love people, love her fellow human beings. Right? And you see that with Michio.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully I'm saying that name wrong.
Michio.
Michio. Yeah. Sorry. Drives me nuts. Any which way, there's a lot of PTSD going on here, right? They're fighting this really nasty war at length over a period of time, and the people fighting this war often are not soldiers per se, but they're forced into their situation. The circumstances are such that, one thing led to another thing, and now they're on the computer, on the trigger, making the calls, being shot at, all that stuff. The fear and the sense of loss and the grievances, Like there's no stability whatsoever right now in this universe. And without stability, you have chaos. You have, warlords. We have pirates in this series. That's, to me, science fiction and say in this case the Expanse, it is really a reflection of ancient history, ancient human history, because there's some of the common themes about how do you civilize a place, how do you make peace, how do you not become a slave. These are universal themes in literature, at least in the Western world, and yeah, I really enjoy that. I really enjoy watching it.
Now, do you guys think that Marco has any actual love for Philippe, or does he just view him as a possession? Because I don't think he really has any true affection for the boy. I don't think he's really capable of loving.
I think he's a psychopath, right? So he's he doesn't really care because he can't feel anything but caring, right? To him, it's a means to an end.
I think that there is a I don't think there is a father-son love there. I think it is more of Marco wanting somebody to maybe replace him or like be his heir apparent. I just, he did bail him out of jail, which like I get that,
we should say by bail we mean he said, come with me. He didn't actually. There's no due process whatsoever to speak of.
Okay. Yeah. Would he have done that for, another like second in command that would get themselves in the same situation? Maybe. We don't know that. I kind of think that maybe he would, just because he wants to have that position of power, but I don't feel that there is a strong father-son dynamic there. I think you could really put anybody in that situation, and honestly, Marco probably wishes that it was somebody else that wasn't so, or at least somebody that hasn't been influenced by Naomi at this point.
I think he protects Philippe just because, since he's his son, he's a reflection on his father. So he has to protect his own reputation by keeping his son out of embarrassment.
Yeah. Yeah, and like they have to like twist the truth to make Marco and the name, his family name, look and be maintained at a high point and not be dragged down by Philip's actions. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Marcus is empire building, and for that to have a dynasty, you need to have offspring that will be competent enough to take over it. And is Philip competent right now? No, he's not. He's a mess, which is not unusual when you're talking about dynasties, right? It's usually the wayward son is an idiot, and only certain circumstances will make him, because he's usually a male, into at least a competent leader. It may not be the most charismatic or most effective leader, but at least step up the game.
Yeah.
So now, this season, was it saying that Philippe was the one who launched the rocks at Earth, and that's what he's feeling the guilt for, that he personally pulled the trigger? Or is it just that he's like on the crew?
I don't remember if he is the one that actually launched it or not. I would have to go back and see if that's addressed and how. I think that it's more of I think he's still being influenced by Naomi, and I think that there was a time, or there was a part of that when she was on the ship with them last season. I think that there could have been a time, or there's probably like a parallel universe where Naomi ends up like convincing Philip to join her and overthrow Marco and make sure that he doesn't get to the position of power that he's in right now. I think that is still lingering a little bit in him, and that's causing some of it. And he's probably doesn't know what he wants. Like, does he want to like be a good person? Does he even want what his dad does? Like, is it just because it's his dad that he's following him? I mean, he's still young, obviously, so that's part of it. But I think that's where that guilt is coming from, and it's more of a mental anguish rather than something physical that happened, or it could be a combination of both.
I'm just rewatching the video, and I'm heterosexual personally myself, but Marco's like, he's looking so sexy on screen right now. Like everything about him, it looks sexy, and it's like, okay, they're replaying his sex appeal up. Like you can see it. Like he reeks of of sexiness. And
he's definitely got a smoldering look.
Yeah. So it's not as bad in previous seasons, but in season 6, yeah, I'm not sure what the show is going for, but like my theory right now is that he's going to be distracted because of sex and a lot of other things. But wow. No, it's a little detail of just body language. Pretty good.
He is being more menacing and foreboding this season, at least to me. Like that. Now that you mention it, Joel, like I'm not going to use the word sexy, but
whatever works, man. Whatever works.
There is that. He is like portraying that confidence about him right now. Like, hey, like look what I just did. Like, look at me. I'm Marco Naris. Like, I am like obliterating Earth at this point. Like, look at all the damage and chaos I've caused. Like, this is only the beginning. And we can even see that at the end of episode 2 when they realize that Holden and crew took I think they took the data core, or I think it was the data core, right? Out of that ship.
Yeah.
And now know about where the rest of the rocks are. And most people, like, I got the vibe right before the episode ended was like, this is the turning point. Okay, like, we know that the good guys are going to come back and win, or they're going to go kill Marco or whatever. But like, he had that grin on his face of like, oh, like, don't worry about, like, I have something up my sleeve.
Yeah, he's gonna get his rocks off. Yeah. But it's not only that. Yeah, I deserve that one. But there's 3 things that happen, right? Which is turning the tide against the Free Navy and supporting the United Nations and their Mars allies, right? One is, yes, they got the mother lode in terms of data drop, right? In terms of all where their ships are, where all the asteroids are. So then it can free up the United Nations fleets to go attack the bolters out in the far reaches of the solar system, which is amazing. The other 2 things is that, one, listen, we have Monica Stewart, right? She's going to write a very major piece of journalism, not a puff piece, but journalism, to try to have empathy. The fact that the Free Navy, they're killing and hurting and causing suffering among so many people. So that's like point 2 of, yes, the tide's turning, because don't discount good journalism. The third thing, of course, is that we have Drummer and this Lang Walker new character. And, well, let's see. They just know that there's supply depots around in terms of the belt and the Free Navy territory, which is having logistical issues, by the way. That's been mentioned several times in episode 1 and episode 2. So what do you do with supply depots? Maybe you should go, sack them and raid them. So I think these 3, forces at play is going to turn the tide of battle. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think the most important thing was stopping the constant rock attacks that was tying down the fleet to Earth. So now they can actually do force projection and send their ships out and go hunting the Free Navy. Because up to now, the Free Navy has just had a free reign of the belt and the ring space and everything.
Yeah.
Oh, and I was just watching the part where they captured the Azure dragon, and that was a very impressive scene where they're like showing the 2 ships chasing after each other, and one makes a move, and the other one has to counter and catch up with it. That was a really cool scene.
That just goes to show again how far we've come with the presentation of scenes like that. I don't think if we were back in season 1, heck, maybe even season 2, I don't know if we would have had that so intense. Like, it's not a dogfight. It's a tiny bit of a dogfight, but not really. That chase sequence, that was so exciting. Like, that is how you do a chase sequence, Ryan Johnson. Are you listening?
Get over it, Chris, man. Move on with life. Life's too short.
Yeah, I'm only half kidding with that. I don't think that was that big of a deal in Last Jedi. This isn't a Star Wars podcast, though, thankfully. Yeah, that was so exciting watching that. And again, seeing it in 4K was just, it blew my mind. And put you on the edge of your seat. And that is like, I kind of want to see what something like that, how it's written in the books, to see if it's as exciting in the books as it is on screen. Because imagine, you can say, okay, well, let's imagine a spaceship chase, and then you think of something common. I mean, we'll use Star Wars as an example. Let's say you have a X-wing chasing a TIE fighter. Like, that's pretty exciting in of itself because it's two small ships chasing each other. But when you add in something as big as the ones we have here, like they're freighters essentially, how do you make that feel exciting from a visual perspective, especially something that you're trying to adapt? And this one in particular was just so exhilarating, and I was very pleased with not only the way it looked, but just the emotions that it made me feel too.
It also has some amazing badass Bobby stuff in it, where she just jumps out of the ship to land onto the other one and is just casually gunning people down.
I'm so happy that we got her reunited with the Rossi crew.
Yeah.
Because I liked her as being more of an accomplice to Avasarala, but I think that she belongs with the Rossi crew from a storytelling perspective, and I'm very happy that she's back on that ship.
Yeah. My two favorite characters in the franchise are Avasarala and Bobby.
And for good reason, yeah.
Hey, can I just take this moment to say, Clarissa, well done being part of the crew now. Good on you.
Mm-hmm.
I like her being on the crew. She's a good addition.
She is one character that really took me by surprise last season as to how much I enjoyed her. Especially, I mean, her and Amos get, they have a good chemistry, and that's just the way it's written. But the two actors have good chemistry as well. Like, they just seem to have this nice match on screen, just like looking at them. But the way that they do their performances also really match up well, and you can really feel like it's not just two people playing a part. It's genuine emotion and feelings between them. So yeah, I'm really glad that she's part of the crew as well. And she had her own moment by jumping off onto the ship. We'll get to. I want to talk about Naomi in a second, but she had her moment jumping off the ship and then really saving Bobby's life, which I didn't get at first, and then it like hit me like after I saw what she did. It was like, oh, okay, like it's coming back to me now. And to see that was it was so cool, especially in the middle of space and not on the ship.
Yeah.
But yeah, about Naomi, we know the toll that last season took on her, and honestly, probably Dominique as an actress as well. But to kind of revisit that a little bit, like, she was all kind of gung ho and ready to do the mission, and then she goes to jump, and then it's like flashbacks of what happened last season when her jumping out into space with no suit and nothing, and then being stranded alone on the other ship, and then having to jump out again. Like, that's going to be traumatic. And we were talking about a little bit about PTSD earlier. Like, this, like, imagine put yourself in that kind of situation. You've already done two like near death experiences, one kind of more so than the other, like, and then having to kind of do this again. It's just crazy.
and she almost lost Holden at the beginning of the episode, right? The first episode,
Mm-hmm.
right? She almost lost the person she cared for, who she struggled to get back to, right? Okay, her lover for years. Yeah, and she's freaking out because, of course, she will freak out. Like, who wouldn't?
Mm-hmm.
It's not a sign of weakness; it's a sign of being human.
Yep.
Yeah. Good observation, man.
Mm-hmm.
And that is one thing too that I think this show also does well is, when we have these character moments of what we in a normal situation would classify as weakness. In this case, it is somebody who is because of something that is going on inside them and inside their brain, the way that they're feeling, they can't carry on, and they're prevented from carrying out their objective. But the way that it's portrayed here is, yeah, it is technically, moment of weakness, but we have to see how the characters are overcoming that, and it's only making them stronger. Like, we know that because of things that has happened in previous seasons, like that's why the characters are at today. And yeah, they may still have these moments where they get like lost in thought, or they remember something traumatic, and they can't overcome an obstacle. But we know that later they'll overcome that, and they'll be a stronger person for it.
Yeah. Man, it parallels a lot that's happening in our own society, right? If if a combat vet, or you're just a regular vet, or you're in stressful situations, all that stuff, right? Because there's a lot of PTSD in our society, and I think the pandemic hasn't helped much, and that has caused more PTSD for a lot of folks. So in a way, this series is really reflecting on what's happening in our society in terms of our own stresses and anxieties. So I really like the character development. I know you poo-poo at the very start of the show, Chris, but episode 1, I think the connections between characters, it's important. Yeah, listen, I'm a comic guy. I like the fast-paced, bang bang stuff. But sometimes, especially the older I get, I put more value on the slow moments and just the dialogue and the body language between these characters, and because that's important, I think.
Do you all think that we are seeing more and more that this is being told kind of from the perspective of a long movie or a long miniseries, where it's not a traditionally written TV show, or really like even a traditionally written show like it kind of was on Sci-Fi? Like, they have the liberty of having these slower moments, the slower paced episodes where it's not really a lot going on or a lot of advancement, but going back to what we talked at the start, it's the little things that's doing it, and the little things that's driving it along that come back to, they start piling up, and then they are pulled off in a momentous way at the end.
I would say that all of the previous seasons have had their slow moments. I remember the first few episodes of season 5 was them just kind of having their own individual lives before the rocks hit. And season 4, they're just kind of wandering around that alien planet for a while. And I kind of remember the season 1 started off a little slow for me, to the point where it wasn't really holding my interest, and I kind of struggled to get through to the end of it. But by the end of it, I loved it. So this kind of feels at the same pacing as the rest of the series has been for me.
I think having 2 seasons on TV is impressive, but having 6 in a streaming service, I think the real technology has changed so much that the market has changed. So we have streaming instead of network television. And I don't know, Chris. I think they've written this series, especially the last couple of seasons, with with the future in mind, by giving it different options. I think it would be quite easy to do another couple of series for this, seasons with this, It could also be easy to make a made for TV movie, which is now made for a streaming movie or two or three. There's so many media that they can incorporate now, because I think people are into longer stories. You see that in the MCU, you see that in Star Wars. It doesn't matter where which part of the river you put your stream in, you put into the stream, you are going to find interest in it because the storytelling is compelling.
Yeah. Yep, that's a good way to say it, I think. And really, I mean, it does. I think that this, if we do get some adaptation of the last three books, be it in another show or in a movie format or a made for TV, made for streaming type long form thing, I think that this what we've seen so far is that can be done, and that can be successful, and that can be satisfying to fans. Because I mean, I sat at the beginning of the episode and said, oh yeah, Strange Dogs wasn't the greatest opener, wasn't great premiere. I was kind of bored, not a lot going on. But by talking about it with you guys and knowing that we've seen episode 2 after that, again, it makes it better in my eyes. And the fact that you can do that for maybe a movie, and you don't have to worry about these little 30-40 minutes sequences where it might not be the most engaging, but with a movie you don't have to worry about that, because that's the whole point of a movie. And maybe that's just the way that they're playing it.
Listen, Chris, I acknowledge my biases. I like long form storytelling because I think arcs are everything. If they suddenly want to do a TikTok video for 2 minutes in order to tell the next story, I'm sure people will be into that. I'm not. I need character development. I need to know what some motivations are. I need to know what's going on in these characters' heads, right? Because that's how we relate to them. That's how we connect to them. We have shared experiences, or at least we can put our own perspective in their perspective. So we have empathy, understanding, right? Empathy, understanding, that type of stuff.
He needs to see them staring off into space for minutes at a time. That's what makes cinema.
Oh yeah, I'll do that. I'm all over staring into space. That's me to a T, man. Okay.
Actually, wasn't there a lot of that in the Dune movie? People kind of giving meaningful looks to the camera and whatnot.
Yeah, I think so. But I look at storytelling as a way to to understand life and existence, right? I take a very philosophical take on storytelling.
Derek, I'm kind of glad that you brought up Dune, because I think this is a good way to compare the storytelling methods of The Expanse and Dune. Personally, I've not read Dune the book. I really want to read Dune the book, but I loved that movie. I was enthralled the whole time. But I can see that, let's say you separate Dune the movie out into 3 or 4 episode show, and you're going to have to cut some things and rearrange some things to kind of keep it moving. But I would be able to see where somebody would watch that and be like, oh my god, this is so boring. Or what is going on? Let's get something moving here. But I think The Expanse goes to show that it's sort of that same vibe, that you just have to kind of wait for it. You're not going to get it in the first 30 or 40, 45, 50 minute episode. You might have to wait for the next 2 or 3 for it to get going. And I guess that is the beauty of the show. It's what we've already mentioned.
Yeah, it's kind of like you need the foreplay until you get to the act itself, man. It's
without pain there can be really no pleasure.
Yeah, you need to bond. You need to process the information and the emotional information of that. So it's emotional intelligence stuff as well. And then, of course, your analytical side of the brain goes nuts over the connections, right, between the plot, the characters, the setting, the themes, all that good stuff. Yeah, and then you can dive even deeper and look at it from a production value, which is taking you out of the illusion, taking you out of the fiction, but it's still neat. It's still interesting.
Yep. Cool. Well, I don't have much else to say about these two episodes. Anything y'all want to end with, or any final thoughts?
Looking forward to see how it ends.
Yeah, I can't wait till Marcos gets spaced. Probably something worse, but that's just my vindictiveness coming through. Okay. That's all
And
I
it's
got.
been a long time since somebody's been spaced on this show, like properly spaced.
I know it's been like at least a season or something like that. God, more spacing. Yeah, arbitrary executions. No, I don't believe in that. But still, yeah.
Oh,
So
I have a random question. What happened to Jared Harris's character? Did Anderson Dawes, is he still alive in the show? Did he get killed? Is he the one that stole the proto molecule from?
No, I think there was a dialogue. I think this episode 1, maybe last season, where they just said out of a line that he's dead.
Okay.
I think, if I recall, I think it's episode 1 of season 6. They mentioned it brief in dialogue. But that's a good question because, quite frankly, I love this character. That's the reason I got into the show, because his character, Jared Harrison. Oh my, what a great actor!
Yeah, he's a great actor. I love him. He was great in Moriarty. He was great in Foundation. Yeah, when I say Moriarty, I mean he was great as Moriarty in the Sherlock Holmes sequel.
Yeah, he was great in Chernobyl. He's the son of Richard Harris. Yeah,
he is.
That. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Right, so he has a good pedigree, acting classical actor pedigree in Britain and in Ireland. So.
Yeah, Derek, it does look like he is definitely confirmed as dead.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, let's take our glasses. Let's raise our glasses to say, hey. Sorry, Jared Harris, but yeah, we want to see you in the Expanse again, but unfortunately, it's probably not going to happen. So,
what did they say, Beltawana?
Beltawana.
Yep.
That's excellent.
All right, well, I guess that will wrap up this episode of The Crash Couch. Like I said, we are trying to record just whenever schedules will allow it. I'm hoping to get Ian and Ernie and Laura on as well for this, for something this season. The plan, just to give a little bit more context for that, is to do one episode of the Crash Couch. Man, it's been a while since I've done this. For every 2 episodes of The Expanse, and hopefully that'll hold. I would like to do a single episode for the finale, but I don't think that with how schedules will align that'll happen. We'll see. Maybe we can do something there. I'd also like to, if we can find a way to fit something in, get some people together and talk about the last book in actual spoilers this time, go into more detail just for the people that are interested in that. And then hopefully we'll do, once the whole show is ended, we'll do a wrap-up episode. We'll actually do a wrap-up episode this time. I know I've said that we were going to do a wrap-up episode for the last 2 seasons, and it never happened. But we're actually going to do one because it'll be the conclusion of the podcast as well, which, wow, that's weird to say. So, yeah, kind of expect that going forward. I can't tweet much nowadays, but I'll try my best to say, hey, we're recording, or I'll post obviously when a new episode goes live. So just keep on the lookout for that. But that was this, I guess, premiere episode of the Crash Couch. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at Crash Couch. You can follow me on Twitter at The Curse of Chris. Joel, what is your Twitter handle nowadays? Is it just your name?
It's just my name. I'm boring, man. I'm a boring old guy. It's Joel_Welch, WLCH. And I also do another podcast called the Sci-Fi Podcast. We've been on hiatus because I'm losing my mind doing my PhD. But we're recording next week for an episode. It's the first time, but probably 11 weeks at that point. So it's not dead. I'm just busy, and yeah, that's just life. And so the Sci-Fi Pubcast has been around for 4 years now, so it's going to continue to live and survive and hopefully thrive once I finish my last paper for the term. There you go.
Joel, did you ever think that when we were at Star Wars Celebration in 2017 in Florida, when you brought this idea up to me, and I said, "Oh yeah, just send it to us, and we'll see if it makes sense for the network at the time." Did you ever think that 4 years later you'd still be doing it?
No. But here we are, and I'm happy for it. Okay. No, podcast is fine. I encourage anyone to get into podcast, especially fans, right? Find some people you like to have a conversation with. Just record it and put it out there because people will turn into it, and that's how you grow communities. And we all need to live in communities. So that's my take.
And Derek, I know that you were also on the Sci-Fi Pubcast, and surprisingly, Joel has not fired you from the kitchen yet. So
that's because he doesn't pay me.
That doesn't surprise me at all. Where can people find you if they want to chat with you?
I'm at Derek J. Beebe, and I also have derekbeebe.com, which I've actually started updating again on occasion.
Very nice. And what can people find at derekbeebe.com?
Just the occasional blog post.
Nice.
And links to my books.
Yeah, but Derek,
all of which are out of print except for one at the moment. But
good. Yeah,
the original book is getting reprinted soon.
But Derek, what's the website? What's the address?
derekbeebe.com.
Okay, I'm making sure people know. Okay.
It's literally derekbeebe.com.
Easy enough, right? All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for listening. Like I said, we'll have a new episode out at some point in the future. But until then, we'll see you next time. Take care.
Bye now.
Bye.